Let's go! LSU has a new name, image, and likeness collective. I'm going to tell you what I've heard about Bayou traditions. Comment down below, though. I'm looking at you right now. Do you believe LSU is behind on name, image, and likeness? I get this question quite a bit. Now, you're looking at a photo of Scott Woodward. There was not one, but there was two videos announcing the new Bayou tradition collective. Now, first thing is one video was released on the Bayou Traditions page that featured Tyrann Mathieu moderating the video.
Down in the Bayou, we have a rich history of traditions. They're deeply rooted, like the stately oaks that line the streets, and they bring us together, like the tiger that roams in their shadows. It is the march down Victory Hill and the golden band from Tigerland.
Boom! Looking at you. Yes, you right now. So I'm going to show you a little bit of the Bayou Traditions website and share with you why this is such an important deal and what I think LSU needs to do involving name, image, and likeness. So you saw just a little bit of the video. I will link the full video down below if you want to see it. Obviously, when Tyrann Mathieu speaks, we all love to listen. Now, as you'll see here, they're basically telling everyone what name, image, and likeness actually is. Now, there has been other NIL initiatives that have kind of been floated out there, but for right now, Bayou Traditions is what LSU Sports is going to get behind. Now, before I continue, I also want to include this. I'm not affiliated with LSU at all, so I'm going to be explicitly clear. I say that all the time. As you guys have heard on this channel, I have been very critical of LSU during certain points, but obviously this is big for the future of my favorite team and your favorite team. So I'm going to tell you why this is so important in just a second, but you guys are seeing the website. It's BayouTraditionsCollective.com. There's all these different memberships that you could do. So like if you clicked a purple membership, $100 annually, $10 monthly, and da-da-da-da-da-da, $50K. Oh, yeah, that would be pretty nice if I had that kind of money to throw around. And as you can see, it's a very clean, simple website. I think this does look very good. I actually sent this to a design friend of mine, and she loved it. So as you can see, support, it's very easy to click and support. It's not just, throwing a bunch of stuff at you. And as you can see, it's them basically breaking down what the NIL law actually is. Now, I know what a lot of you are going to say. Why did this take so long for LSU to get a website out? And I'm going to share why I think that is in just a second. And what I love is when you really want to get things done, feature the GOAT. And this is Joe Burrow, obviously an older tweet when the initial announcement was stated. Exciting time for college athletes, most excited for non-scholarship athletes who may have been working jobs outside of sports to make ends meet. I actually know quite a few athletes who actually had to do that. And on top of practice in school, it is very brutal. And if you need to reach out, there you go. So this is brand new, right? They only have about 300 followers on Twitter at the time of this recording. And it's very important to understand why this took a while. So this is where the video is going to be really, really, really fun. And I want you to come into this with an open mind because a lot of what I'm about to say is going to sound a little harsh, but it's just some honest truths around NIL. And a little bit later, I'm going to give you my final thoughts on everything regarding LSU's world with name, image, and likeness. So let's go take a look at a recent report from businessreport.com. So a lot of you are familiar with the story. LSU overpaid Brian Kelly by more than $1 million in 2022. That is going to get recouped, as you can see in this report. I know it's a lot of words, but what I want you to focus on is right here at the bottom. After suffering a $10 million deficit in 2021, the athletics department brought in $199 million while keeping expenses of $197. So you're reading that correctly, $2 million in profit roughly. And as you can see, football, a 19% increase from last year, net profit of $35.7 million. Now it helps that we won. Obviously, having a home game versus Alabama also helps out. But, the simple truth is LSU football operated more in the black than it did the year before. That's what, I think a winning team has something to do with that. Sometimes it's just numbers. So, yes, LSU's handling of money hasn't always been the best. And, this is just a harsh truth. Going back to some incidents pre-Scott Woodward, it's a little bit of a checkered history. But the truth is, and why I'm so excited about the Bayou Traditions, is this is a subscription model. You see a few tweets here from Ross Dellinger. LSU is not the only one. Obviously, Alabama just released an NIL center that they have at their university. So LSU honestly is just keeping up with some of the other schools, but I love the fact that they're making this simple, right? You can donate this amount of money per month, which obviously helps out the name, image, and likeness. So as you can see, the business of college sports is very strange. So you're looking at a photo here of an LSU women's basketball player in the student section, obviously celebrating a victory. And LSU women's basketball is really, really, really good, but they also lose money, right? Now, it's going to be interesting to see what the LSU men's basketball revenue is going to look like. Since the team is a very brutal watch right now, I'm guessing the revenue is going to be way, way, way down, and LSU women's basketball is going to be way, way, way up. But Kim Mulkey's salary has got to get paid. It is a very hefty salary. And there's all these other expenses that come along with all these other sports. So, make no mistake about it, LSU football is still what subsidizes all the other sports. Now, you guys know that. Now, what does that have to do with name, image, and likeness? Well, this gets into paying players, right? What is a collective's job exactly? How on earth is it, what is a collective going to do? Is it going to, get behind a sponsorship and a player does a sponsorship and that's how it makes its money? Honestly, don't know the be-all, end-all. I don't know all the truths to that. I don't know how this money actually gets divvied up from sport to sport. Remember, this is Bayou Traditions. It's not Bayou Traditions just football, right? It's everybody. So that is where, LSU has got to figure this thing out. It's the same thing that all schools are doing. So what I think people have done a poor job of when discussing name, image, and likeness is they have oversimplified this entire ordeal. Stop that. It is not smart to do that because this is a very complex thing. Now, what we're going to do is talk a little bit about name, image, and likeness from, a bird's eye view, if you will. So I've spoken to lawyers, I've spoken to people involved with collectives, I've spoken to people involved with LSU fundraising. Bayou Traditions, I think, is going to be affiliated with TAF, the Tiger Athletic Foundation. I'm obviously learning about Bayou Traditions as you guys are learning as well. But what I'm going to tell you once again, it's going to come off harsh, but it's just the honest truth. Few players truly move the needle, not only in the sport themselves, but in terms of money and brand recognition, right? Now, ironically, LSU has a wide variety of athletes that you're familiar with. Even though LSU has a higher number, per se, of these individual superstars. And, for me, I think Livy Dunn, Angel Reese is going to reach a pretty high level by the end of the year, especially if she is a player of the year. And Dylan Cruz of baseball. And if you guys, and I don't think this is actually Dylan Cruz, it's tough for me to see the number. I'm not the LSU baseball expert. But if you guys want a signed, authenticated Dylan Cruz baseball, hit me up. Teaming up with Ty Christiana. He's been on the channel, a few weeks ago. We did a show from one of his shows, Old Palmetto Collectibles. Dylan Cruz signs a baseball, and it's worth something because he's probably going to be the number one pick in the MLB draft. But outside of Dylan Cruz, Angel Reese, Livy Dunn, and honestly probably 10 or so football players, maybe less than that, Malik Neighbors, Jaden Daniels, Harold Perkins, Will Campbell, Emory Jones, guys that, have become big, big, big stars. There's not many superstars, right, that everybody knows who they are. And it's just the truth, right? So when businesses do an NIL deal, they want something called a return on investment, otherwise known as ROI. And I think at the beginning of name, image, and likeness, brands were just throwing money at players because it was so new and they wanted to get out in front. And look, it's worked out for quite a few players, right? A lot of you are familiar with Dakotas Crawford at Nebraska. He has yet to play it down, but he had a very viral air conditioning ad at Nebraska, and he's not even at Nebraska anymore. So it's interesting how some of these deals have worked itself out. But, like many of you, I couldn't right now name an LSU softball player, even though LSU softball program under Beth Torina has been really good. So it's tough, right? There's just not many, which is why collectives are important, right? It is now the Bayou Tradition's job to figure out how do we use this actual money. And all universities have been trying to figure this out. So if a lot of you, and I've gotten this question a lot, are we behind on NIL? Are we behind on NIL? Look, I'd be the first to tell you, you don't come to this channel for monetary breakdowns. It's not my thing. I do film breakdowns, and we talk about general stuff on live streams. But what I will tell you is a lot of universities think they are behind on NIL because nobody really knows anything. How the best way to do this, everybody's just trying to learn as they go. And when you think of a program that has done a really good job of spending money to get in a lot of talent, you think Texas A&M, right? And it didn't work out for them. Spending money for players just like it's a wild, wild west isn't the absolute best thing for athletics, right? It takes a village. It takes a team. It takes a 3-star running back, a 3-star tight end, and a wide cast of characters to produce this moment. Now, a lot of the 5 stars, the Harold Perkins, the Emory Jones, the Jaden Daniels, the blue chip top 100 recruits were also big in helping us get this victory, but it takes a team. And honestly, when it comes to money, it can separate a team if one player is making more money than another. I've heard of that more so at other programs, but just in general, players do get jealous of other players that get certain amounts of money. So this is also new, and yes, it's taken a while for LSU to, and they've had other NIL things, but, there's so many moving factors here, right? A collective isn't always directly affiliated with a university like Bayou Traditions is with LSU and TAF. I brought up the Jane Rashada thing a few times on live streams and on my Power Hour SEC channel. It's wild how bad that made Florida look. Now, their 2024 recruiting class are going to be very good. You guys know I'm not a Florida fan by any stretch of the imagination, but Billy is doing some good things there. But this $13 million story has really made Florida not look great at all and made their Gator Collective look bad. And now they got Anthony Richardson releasing statements saying, hey, the Gator Collective is actually a good thing. And it's not a good look how all of that actually worked itself out. And there's so many rumors. Was he actually getting offered $13 million? I personally heard $9 million. A Florida source told me it was actually $7 million, and it was just a mess. It was a disastrous mess. And that's why you got to be very careful with these things, right? It's money. There is no cap. There is no guardrails. There is no nothing. So, for me, just based on what I've learned, I'm bad with money. A lot of this stuff is stuff that I'm learning as we're moving along. It is better to just do this the right way. And that's what makes this such a clunky process, because there is no direct right way to do this. Right? There is no salary cap. It's not like that at all. And, I've seen some contracts for, NIL athletes. It can be daunting. It can be tough. It could be, a situation where if you sign on, you got to be on here with 2 minutes and for 2 years. And how do the taxes work? It's complex. So understand that, yes, I've gotten so many DMs. Are we behind on NIL? We see Texas A&M doing this. Breathe in, breathe out. It's not as easy as you think it is. And I love the subscription model. I think that's what a lot of schools are going to do. And it is amazing, how little certain people actually do move the needle. So, comment down below your thoughts on this video. And here's what's very interesting. A lot of you don't care about this stuff at all. You're just here for me telling stories and football breakdowns and film breakdowns. Well, I got a treat for you at the end of this video. We had a former LSU quarterback share a crazy story about Justin McMillan almost beating out Joe Burrow. That video will be floating in your face in just a second. And it's going to be a busy week for me. A lot of you know why, okay? It is Power Hour LSU. Bam! Bayou Traditions. I love it. I like that name. And let's get our athletes paid. How about that? And the video's, boom, floating in your face. Tonight, we're doing lemon pepper chicken wings, baby. Let's go.